This application is for
Can you just stand with me? Councillors, please. Give the officer a chance to speak. It's not as if everybody else is having a chat amongst themselves. Claire.
Thank you. This application is for residential development of up to 360 dwellings with vertical access on Heart of England Way, including open space, footpaths, landscaping and other infrastructure. It is an outline application with access also being considered at this stage. Objections have been received as detailed on the agenda. These raise issues such as increased traffic, lack of sustainable transport, the impact on schools, noise issues, devaluation of property, increased flooding and loss of wildlife. The OPPF establishes the need for the planning system to achieve sustainable development and also sets out a presumption in favour of sustainable development. In broad terms, this means that the application should be approved, provided that it is in accordance with the development plan and other policies within the LPPF, unless material considerations or adverse impacts indicate otherwise. In terms of housing need, it is well established that the Council does not have a 5-year housing land supply, which does weigh significantly in favour of this application. The application also proposes to provide 25% as affordable housing. The currently adopted 2006 local plan allocates this land as countryside, stating that this land would only be considered for development if it complies with criteria in the policy. However, as we cannot demonstrate a 5-year supply of housing, this allocation cannot be considered and is considered out of date. The character of the landscape has been assessed by documents produced by the Council to help inform the emerging Borough Plan, along with the landscape and visual impact assessment has been submitted with this application. Whilst development would change the character and appearance of the locality, due to its proximity to the existing residential development and other built development such as a large industrial estate at Eastboro Fields, it is not considered that there will be a significant impact on the character and appearance of the landscape of this location. The nearest residential properties are to the south on Grove Hill. As this is an outline application, layout and design of the proposed dwellings are not being considered at this stage. However, there is an existing park between the site and these properties, and therefore there will be a separation distance of at least 100 metres. It also considered that distance standards in our design guide could be met. In terms of the impacts on the amenity of the occupiers of the proposed development, a noise assessment has been submitted with the application. This has demonstrated that suitable internal noise levels can be achieved for the proposed development, provided that mitigation is implemented. One option for mitigation of ground floor habitable rooms is a barrier of approximately 2 metres in height, which would be located along the western boundary of the site with Eastboro Way. However, further mitigation is predicted to be required to meet noise criteria in rooms such as living rooms and bedrooms. This would include how the buildings are orientated on the site, sufficient glazing and ventilation. Environmental Health have no objection, subject to details of a noise barrier, glazing and ventilation being submitted, which are included as conditions 27 and 28. The application proposes up to 360 dwellings, which equates to approximately 33 dwellings per hectare. This is considered to be acceptable in this location. As I've said, matters such as layout, scale and appearance are not being considered now. Some thinning of the hedgerow along the southern boundary is proposed, which would improve natural surveillance of Crowell Park. And whilst layout is not being considered at this stage, it is likely that the houses would be sited to overlook the park, which would also enhance natural surveillance. In terms of highway safety, vehicle access into the site is proposed from the Heart of England Way, which connects to Eastboro Way by the existing four-arm roundabout. It is proposed to upgrade this to a four-way signal control junction. Other highways improvements are proposed, including the provision of a control crossing on Eastboro Way, which would link the application site to the existing cycle network, the replacement of the existing mini roundabout on the Crowhill Road Eastboro Way junction with a signal control T-junction, and the widening of the existing Eastboro Way Lutterworth Road and Highfield Road roundabout. County highways have no objections, subject to conditions 9 to 14 on the agenda. The site is within suitable walking distance to a range of facilities such as shops, a local centre, a district centre and employment uses. A range of schemes are also proposed which would further improve accessibility to services and therefore reduce reliance on the private car. In terms of footpaths and cycle links, a control crossing on Eastboro Way which would link the application site to the existing cycle network to Attleborough Field and the town centre is proposed. There are also two public rights of way that cross the site, located here. It is proposed to enhance these and also provide a cycle path, which shows that yellow line through the site alongside this footpath. This will then join the existing cycle path crossing and then link through to the existing cycle network. 106 contributions are also requested for other cycling structure improvements. These include the creation of a combined footway cycleway along the existing path that runs to the north of the existing property on Crowhill Road. Shows along there. Improvements towards cycling facilities on Attleborough Road and improvements to the cycling infrastructure along the Eastboro Way. In terms of Eastboro Way, there will be a combined footway cycleway between Heart of England Way and Camborne Drive to connect with the proposed Longshoot to Town Centre cycle route and also continue to the south along to the Crowhill Road junction. County Highways and the infrastructure team have also requested £450,000 to support the provision of a bus service to the site, which would run to Saturday between 7:30 and 6:30 at night. In terms of flooding, the majority of the site is not within the floodplain. The north-east part of the site is located within floodstones 2 and 3 due to its proximity to the River Anchor. A flood risk assessment has been submitted with the application, which states that the residential development will be located within the majority of the site within flood zone 1. The use of this sequential approach for the site layout means that the aim of the MPPF to direct vulnerable development such as residential to the areas of lowest flood risk are met. 3 attenuation basins and swales are proposed. County land drainage teams have no objections, subject to condition 22 on the agenda. In terms of ecology, there is no evidence of protected species on the site, and the master plan submitted with the application shows the eastern part of the site as informal open space to complement the play provision which already exists at Crowhill Park. The new open space will consist of an ecological wetland area and enhanced grassland. Existing hedgerows and hedgerow trees are proposed to be retained in the main and supplemented by new planting within a landscape framework. In order to comply with the MPPF to ensure that development does not have a negative impact on biodiversity, calculations have been carried out. There is some loss of biodiversity, but our parks and countryside and Warwickshire Wildlife Trust have no objections provided this is mitigated off-site. Our Parks and Countryside team have commented that the offset can be provided by the development funding the wildflower meadow creation works on the Portland site, Buttermere Park and Crowhill Park. The council will then maintain the meadow through annual cut and remove works once it's established. They have requested a contribution of £76,778 to achieve this, which will be included in the In this way, offsetting would occur within the borough, relatively close to the development, as opposed to the offsetting and benefits being exported outside the borough. Environmental health have no objections in relation to contamination, subject to the inclusion of condition 23 on the agenda. In terms of archaeology, county archaeological services have no objections, subject to the inclusion of condition 25. In relation to 106 contributions, the agent has agreed to pay £490,581 towards plain open space provision, 76,000 towards biodiversity offsetting, 1.8 million towards education, which ranges from early years through to post-16, just over £400,000 towards cycling infrastructure improvements, £450,000 towards bus service improvements, and £11,000 towards footpath improvements, and also £46,000 towards police infrastructure. The recommendation is therefore approval, subject to the completion of a legal agreement and conditions as detailed on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say from the outset that when this initial proposal came forward, I was not happy as a local ward member with the proposal. However, having worked with the local county councillor and given the other potential uses for this site, status quo is not an option for the residents in Whitestone. It will be used for something one way or the other, either a housing development or a gypsy and traveller site, as mentioned on page 57, although the County Council, and it's the first time that the Borough has acknowledged this in writing, that they have no intention whatsoever of selling it for gypsy and traveller use. Along with many residents who I have spoken to, given the situation being between a rock and a hard place, they have preferred the development to gypsy and traveller site. Having attended the initial consultation exercise at the Rugby Club, and having been there for 2 out of 3 of the nights, I can say there was significant concern from local residents, and I answered many questions from residents on the night when I spoke to them. So I am to a certain extent surprised at there only being 8 objections from local residents, given the amount of people who I spoke to on the night, and it was significantly more than 8 people. Having said that, the main issue before the committee tonight is access. It is quite demonstrable, and however I may have felt about this regardless of the gypsy and traveller site, in planning terms alone, you have a stub of a road in Heart of England Way which gives you your access. Therefore, refusal on access grounds you cannot do. You will be laughed out by the planning inspector if you were to try and refuse it on those grounds. So the best we can do is make the best of a very difficult situation. And I am pleased that, having lobbied along with the local county council of the area, County Councillor Clark, that we have managed to get some improvements with the county council, including the works to be done to Crow Hill Road Junction with Eastboro Way, and to the roundabout Highfield Road, Lutterworth Road, Crow Hill Junction, which will help to mitigate. That isn't to say that this scheme is perfect, it is far from it, because I do still have reservations about education provision and health provision, although I am aware that the County Council is looking at these in other planning applications they may wish to submit. My main concern is about the plain open space contributions on page 63, most of which I support and are extremely needed in this area of the borough, where the borough has itself recognised that it is an area of deprivation for plain open spaces. The skate park and BMX park, green gym, they are all extremely welcome and are desperately needed in that area of Whitestone. But we only have this as a major park in Whitestone. Everything else is outside the boundaries of the Whitestone ward. So I am slightly annoyed to see.
Are there any points of clarification? Councillor Conley.
You were talking at the very end about plain open space and you were slightly nodded decently. Can you clarify what that was?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Councillor Conley, that way back. I'm concerned about where it said plain open spaces, that there is a figure earmarked for Riversley Park. If this wasn't so close and directly next door to a park, I could understand diverting some funds to Riversley Park. But the Crow Hill Rec has been in desperate need of renovation for some years, and I would much rather that the funding went into that. So I would hope that if the committee is minded to approve the outline, that officers would go away and rethink that suggestion, or perhaps even talk to local members about that, because we haven't been consulted about potential strategies which would help, and we have a few which we think would help in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Understand Mr O'Connell no longer wishes to speak.
No, I was fully happy with the officer's recommendation, but more than happy to take any questions that members might want to put
Anything to come back on it? No. In that case, to enable debate to take place, can I move the recommendation, which is to grant planning permission subject to a legal agreement and the conditions? Is that seconded? Any number? Yes, you can.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's interesting on this in that it has had a low level of objections, probably because a little way set back from any housing. But it is a valuable bit of countryside we're losing, so we do need to be sure that we need to lose it and lose it now. We have 1,000 applications approved around the sort of St Nicholas Park area, 1,000 in the Wellington area, and it's going to be a highways issue, adding another 360, is it, at this location. And one thing that's very disappointing, looking at the conditions, particularly the ones about the Toucan crossing and some of the junction improvements, they come in after the 100 houses built, the 200 houses built, and then the 300 houses built. At the rate at which we build these sites out, the early ones saying 35 a year, we're talking to get to the 300 house built, maybe about 8 years. And why are we waiting so long for bits and actually trying to get people to travel easy, like the Toucan crossing? You have to wait till you build 200 houses before you build the Toucan crossing. Now, if we're trying to get people to walk to the industrial estate, cycle to the industrial estate, not having the crossing across the Eastboro Way until you build 200 houses, just seems lunacy to me. And so I wonder if we can actually go through these conditions and actually get them deferred or something, so we can actually make them a bit earlier in terms of providing the transport mitigation. Because we are going to have an awful lot more traffic down Eastboro Way. The applicant further up Eastboro Way, where there's 330 odd, is going to widen that bit of Eastboro Way to dual carriageway, and then it comes down here and you haven't even got a Toucan crossing. It's all comes back to us not having a borough plan again, but it might be useful if Ben could explain the sort of traffic flows and why we are so late actually doing all the transport bits for this.
Thank you, Bill. And we'll let Ben do that. But also I want to pick up the point that you made about earlier staging of some of the conditions. I want to ask the officers whether that is something that we can actually alter the condition, that some of those things are introduced at an earlier stage, such as the cost.
So the Highway Authority, the conditions are based on the modelling which the Highway Authority, the applicants have undertaken, the Highway Authority is identified, and those junctions which are required early on are those junctions which are under the most pressure that need to be mitigated to accommodate the development within the highway network. Now, we've got the signalisation of the existing Eastboro Way Hartingen and roundabout straight away, because we need to have that to have safe access and for the construction traffic to move, for the site to be first occupied. Then the 100th dwelling, the modelling demonstrates that the Eastboro Way Crowfield Road junction, which already has significant capacity constraints, also is not the best in terms of its safety method, needs to be mitigated because it needs to be signalised to be able to accommodate the additional traffic, part of the wider Eastboro Way corridor programme. The Toucan crossing comes under the 200th dwelling because it's about that critical mass of when it's required. Now, I understand where Councillor Concourse is coming from, saying that we should have it from day one. There's also a large amount of contribution to other cycling infrastructure, which is going to be delivered separately by the County Council, which includes cycle links to the north, cycle links down to the south, to Crowshill, as well as cycle links through the park into existing residential communities. So those will be going on as the development's being built out anyway. There is a comprehensive strategy. The applicants have worked closely with Lisa Jones, the cycling officer, as well as the parks team here at Nuneaton and Bedworth. and they really understood what's required and why things are being done and taken in a certain manner. I would recommend starting to change these trigger points. There's a reason we have the trigger points, and that's ensuring viability. If we start front-loading all this infrastructure to day one or very early on, a house builder will turn around and say, it's not viable. We'll need to change the conditions. We can't do this. So it's better working through the modelling to understand when developments trigger the mitigation and to phase them in that way. Yes, okay, the two crossing comes in quite late, but it's about that critical mass. What's the point where it's critical that we need that two cross?
Okay, thank you. That's useful. Any other member? Councillor Trogan.
Thank you, Chair. There was the other point that I think we wanted to ask the borough officer as well, to Councillor Wilson's point about the money being diverted to Riversley Park. The Crow Hill Park is in need of refurbishment and overhaul, and as the money's being generated in the area, and the leader at a previous council meeting made it clear that that would always be the borough's first option would be to spend the money in the area it was generated. Do we need to put in an amendment to this motion, or will officers take it away and look again at that and seek to have the Crow Hill Park regenerated first?
I mean, as part of the work of parts of the countryside, they have to look at where the need is and where the 106 million can go, and they break it down to various parts, and they look at a destination park first, either Bedworth, Miners Welfare or Riversley, then to the next stage, then to the next, and that's how they break down their 106 contributions and what's required.
I understand your explanation, thank you for that. But the borough's policy is that, as stated by the leader of the council, and as would normally be expected, that the money will be spent as a priority in the area in which it's raised. So what you're telling me is that you're saying destination parks get priority over that. That might be a working assumption for the Parks Department, but there's something that supersedes that. If that's not going to be taken away, then I would put that forward as an amendment to the...
I mean, as I've said, it's still in the hierarchy, not in the hierarchy, but important in terms of the scales of the parks and the facilities within the borough. One of the ones they look at is local parks, which is what Crow Hill Park is, and quite a significant amount of money is going towards that park to improve the facilities, such as the green gym, skate park, etc., and improving the facilities that are there at the moment. Some of the money will go to Crow Hill Park.
Well, can I suggest something? I mean, we've got what's in front of us and how the monies are allocated. It would be for ward members and other people to seek any variation on that alongside the officers within planning and the Parks Department. I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised in the sense that every member of this council gets a weekly update of planning applications, and it was said that you haven't had any talks with planning officers. I think, like me and everybody else, you've had that opportunity to go and speak to those planning officers and parks people to make a contribution. But in saying that, we've got what we've in there, and I still think there's an opportunity if there's a need for a variation. The officer's nodding, so I'm assuming I'm right. Okay. Right. Councillor Ian Lloyd.
What's it going to sort of go on that last point as far as I'm concerned, Chair? There's pressure on our destination parks in both towns, and as new development is being built, why shouldn't they contribute to our destination parks? They're going to use them.
Any other member? Nobody else has indicated. I will bring Councillor Conducall in, and I've got a couple of questions, and I'm going to go to the vote. Councillor Conducall.
Yeah, I mean, the two crosses are really cheap, they're infrastructure, about £100,000. And it really is the sort of thing that we do need to front load to get people walking cycling. So I would actually ask, if we do approve this, that we bring the Toucan crossing back so it's not a 5-year or 6-year wait for it. And on the discussion with planning officers, I did actually ask, when these two plans were coming forward in the Eastboro Way, if the cycling we would go to 2, And actually that is one thing that has been taken on board. So we do, obviously I cycled down the Eastboro Way tonight to go to the other site visit. Actually I cycled down there and through the actual field. So it is a useful area, and we do have these discussions, particularly to make sure things join up. So we did have that discussion.
I don't necessarily disagree with you about the crossing and when it should be put in, but we've had an explanation from the highways officer that we have to take account of. Can I just ask, then I'm going to move on, because it's an interesting one, because the land was originally, hopefully, would have solved a lot of problems earmarked for cemetery use. Clearly there's a bigger value to the land for development. And I guess the answers from you is going to be about the engineering and construction of the site, because I understand when they did the tests about whether it could be a cemetery, because there was a high water table. So you need to placate me on that, then, about if there's a high water table, about any risk of flooding. There's been little mention of it, except for a reason from one of the objectors, there was a risk of flooding.
I mean, the majority of the site is within flood zone 1, so that's the least probability of flooding, not within floodplain. The northeastern, the northeast corner where the open space is within flood zones 2 and 3. The flood risk assessment has been submitted and accepted by the county flood risk team as acceptable, and the mitigation schemes that are proposed and conditioned as well.
Thank you. Right, it's been moved and seconded. The recommendation was printed, which is to grant planning permission subject to a legal agreement and the conditions printed. All those in favour of that? And against? So that permission's granted.